I'm going to revise the HTML structure, and I'm going to do that by writing code in a text editor. And in this case, I'm using brackets. Feel free to use whatever code editor you like, but I quite like brackets. Here's the little icon, and I've got the app open, ready to go. So we're going to be building a little web page, and we're going to work through that whole process of setting up a directory, writing out your HTML element structure, and then associating a style sheet with that. Let's get into it by creating a new folder on the desktop. You can put it anywhere you like. I'm just going to call mine my web page. So this is where all of my work for this web page is going to be included. File management is a kind of really important thing to get your head around. Inside my root directory, I'm going to create another folder for images. It's a good idea to kind of segment your root directory into appropriate kind of subdirectories, and with this little simple website, I think an images folder is going to be really appropriate. But you could also have folders to separate your pages or your content areas, scripts, JavaScript, etc. Maybe even a folder for your CSS. Let's write some HTML and CSS. So over in brackets, I'm going to open up a folder, and when I navigate to my desktop and open up that my web page directory, you can see that kind of directory structure is visible over here on the left hand side. Let's create a new document, and I'll start by saving that as a HTML document, and this is going to be kind of my home page, so I'm going to call it index.html, and I'll save it inside my root directory next to my images folder. Excellent. Let's get started writing some HTML. So our structure starts with a doctype declaration, and that tells the browser what version of HTML you're writing in, and in our case we're writing in HTML5, so this is the doctype for HTML5, just right up the top there. Underneath that we need to include HTML tag. So inside these two tags is going to be all of our HTML. Now there's two kind of main sections in our HTML. One is our head, where all of the kind of metadata is stored, and the body is, oops, you might want to spell that correctly, Simon. The body is where all of our kind of content goes. Let's tidy that up. Okay, so great start. We've got our HTML structure in place. Let's add our first bit of metadata, and we'll be adding metadata throughout this demo, or different types of metadata. So this is a web page that I'm putting together about cats for no particular reason. And let's save that. Command S on the keyboard, or Control S, or you can use the file menu. And I'm going to click on this little live preview button here. This is a good kind of feature in brackets, but I'm sure you'll find similar features in other code editors, where I can load up a browser window, and it will preview the HTML that I've written, and you can see that we've got no content there, but our title is displaying up here in our browser tab. This web page is about cats, and if I add something in here like a H1. You'll see that kind of in a live way updates, which is kind of good. Occasionally it gets a bit buggy and you have to refresh that, but generally speaking it's pretty good. All right, so let's create a little page here. Inside the body, of course, all our content's going to go inside the body. I'm going to create a div to wrap all of our content, and we'll give it a class. Whatever you like. This will work out well for me, or well, it'll do. I'll just wrap that div around the rest of my content here. Clean that up a bit. So I like to cascade my content with tabulation, like so. What other content can we put in here? A paragraph of text, and I'm going to go over to my cat Ipsum page here and generate some dummy copy that's about cats, because our page is about cats. I'll pop that inside my P tag there. You can see that it's updated. So going well, we've managed to hook up our HTML with a live preview. Let's add a bit more content, perhaps an image. And before I do that, I need to get an image, so I'm going to go over to Unsplash and find a picture about cats. What have we got? Want something horizontal. This is going to be good one for me. A nice angry looking cat. Actually, I'm going to download a smaller version of that. The small version. Just to keep things a little bit more manageable. I'm also going to copy the credit there. I can include that in my HTML. Might do that first. So I've copied that credit over. I'll paste that HTML in there. You can see that they've provided that credit in a span tag, and I'm going to change that to a P tag. And just check that that's updated. Excellent. But we do need to add the add that image. I'll just hide that for a second. And oops. Don't know why I did that. Grab our cat image, put it inside my images folder. And I'm just going to just fix up the name of that because I've downloaded that a couple of times. Get rid of any kind of weird spaces. Maybe I'll even abbreviate that to just cat JPEG. Okay, so I've added an image, a JPEG image to my images folder there, and let's add that into our, into our page by adding an image tag. An image tag with a source, and you can see that brackets helps me out here. I've got this kind of flyout, and I can look inside the images folder and choose an image that's in the images folder, and I kind of don't have to write out that thread, which is pretty good. I'm going to add an alt tag because an alt tag makes my images more accessible to search engines, but also to visually impaired people and people that are using text readers. Close off that and just check that that's updated. Excellent. Great. So we've got some content in place. Now we want to go and style our page. So let's hook up a style sheet to our HTML document. We're going to need to, let's save our document here, make sure it's saved, and create a new document, a new blank document, and we'll start off by saving it as, we'll call it style.css. And we'll save it right next to our index.html on that same level there. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to write a couple of styles here. First one I'm going to write is for the body, and I'm going to give the body a background color. Oops. You can see brackets helping me out there by giving me suggestions. So I'm going to have a red background. And I'll save that document. Now nothing's updated because I haven't connected the style with the index. I haven't connected the CSS to the HTML. So we need to go into the HTML and add a link to that style sheet in the head of our document. So inside the head tag. So we're going to add a link tag, and its relationship is going to be a style sheet. And I'll probably be able to scroll through here and find style sheet. And we need a reference to it, or a URL. So we'll, like with an image, we'll add a href. And again, brackets is making some suggestions, and I'm going to link the style sheet to the page. And when I've done that, you can see that that style has been updated. Now just make sure that I save all. So that's going to save all of my open pages. And if I change the view here, I can split the screen horizontally, and then I can just drag the style sheet over into this other window here. And I've got my HTML up in the top window and my style in the bottom window. And over here I've got a live preview. So I've kind of set up an authoring environment that's very similar to kind of CodePen, although it's a little bit more manual. But we'll end up with files that are a lot more appropriate for publishing on the internet. So we're working in a local authoring environment. Local meaning we're working on our own machine or our own hard drive. Okay, so let's add some style to our page really quickly. I'm not going to fuss too much over the style here. But our body, I think we want to change the typography to a sans serif. So I'm going to change the font family to a sans serif. That'll do well for me. And I want to create a little bit of layout on the page by targeting the main class here, the main box class, that div, main box. And let's just tidy that up. I'll change the background color of that class to white. I'll give it a width, maybe, I don't know, 400 pixels, because it's a pretty slim workspace we've got here. We'll center it. Well, first we'll give it some padding. You can see all of that occurring as I'm writing. And we'll center the column. Maybe a bit of padding at the top and the bottom, but then auto for left and right so that our panel sits in the center there. And what about some rounded corners? Something like that. So that's looking good. Our page is in order, got all of our content there. This image is sticking out the side a little bit weirdly, so let's give all images in our web page a width of 100% so that they kind of conform to a page size. Looking good. All right, so we talked about metadata before. We've added a couple of bits of metadata. Other types of style sheets, you can have more than one style sheet applied to a page. So you could have a separate style sheet for your page layout and a separate style sheet for typography, for example. Another type of style sheet is a style sheet from a font service, and I think we should quickly add a web font to this project. I'm going to go over to my Adobe font account, and I've found an appropriate cat themed font here, or typeface, Cat's Eye Bold, and I'm going to create a new project for that. I've already tested one out. This is going to be Cat Project 2. And it's going to include Cat's Eye. I'll create that and it should give me the appropriate code. So a link there with a style sheet in it. I can copy that into the clipboard and add that to the head of my document. Of course, you can add fonts using the import command in your style sheet. This time around, I'm adding it as a link in my head tag. And I'm going to grab the CSS there, and I'm going to add that to a H1. I'm going to target the H1 and make give it that kind of more interesting font. That's debatable, I suppose. Let's go and have a look at the update there. You can see we've included that that Adobe font, which is pretty cool. All right, what else do I need to include here? So of course in a web page or in a website, you're going to have multiple pages, different kind of content areas, and each of those content areas will be a different HTML document. So let's have a look at linking between two HTML documents. I very quickly put together another page. So you can see here our directory, and it's kind of getting bigger. We've got an images folder in there with our cat image. We've got our home page, and we've got our style sheet. In here I've got another page that I made that's about dogs, and also I've got a dog image that I put together. And you can see when I added that HTML file and also that JPEG to my project, you can see that brackets has recognized that, and you can see that there's the dog HTML there. I can look at that HTML if I wanted to. And also inside the images there, I've got another image in the images folder. Okay, so linking between HTML pages. Let's just create a link in the text here. This is very simple, really. I'm going to create an anchor tag with a URL. So if you're linking to an external page, you'd have an absolute URL that would start off with something like http ://www, etc., etc. But when you're linking to local pages, you can use relative relative links, and you can see here that brackets is suggesting a relative link or a relative URL for me, which is dogs.html. So I'm going to include that there, and then add some text for my link. And then close off that anchor tag like so. So we've got our link working like so. And then when I go over to the page, you can see that my cursor changes to a link, and if I click on that, I'll go to the dog page. So the browser has opened up this HTML page here. I'll just go back to my previous page. I have to refresh that. Yeah, so that's linking two pages together in a local environment. Finally, just finish off by thinking about some other metadata that you might want to include in the head tag. Metadata that you might want to include in the head tag of your HTML document. All right, so a couple of things that help out with search engine optimization and kind of just declaring your web page to the internet. So that is the meta tag, and we can add different types of metadata to our page. In this case, I'm going to add a name, a description. So I will declare name and I'll add in description. You can see there's a few other options that you can include there. So description and the content of the description. So this is saying to a search engine bot kind of what this web page is about. This. So that's a good one to have at the top there. Keywords is another good example. I might just copy that and pop that down here and change that to keywords. Also helps with search engine optimization, and these keywords can be just separated with a comma. So I don't know, maybe we want to tell the world that we're in this page. We do talk about HTML, CSS, and cats. Another meta tag is the author. So if we want to declare whose page this is. All right, so 3 meta tags, or three different types of meta tag that we can add to our pages to give search engines a little bit more information about what our page is about. A final meta tag that I want to add to the page, and I might just put this down underneath the style sheets, is a meta tag with the name of viewport. Just try and spell that right. Now this this will be important, not so much in today's kind of demo that we've done, or the website that we've made here, but it will become important when you're making pages that change depending on the screen that they're viewed on. This meta tag tells a browser to display the content as if it was looking, the viewer was looking on it at the content from that screen. So it tells the browser to recognize that it's a phone, or recognize that it's a wide desktop machine, and then display content accordingly. So just keep this meta tag in the back of your mind, and ensure that you are adding it to your pages as you move forward. And that is the viewport tag. So meta name viewport. The content is going to be, the width is going to be equal to the device width. So if it's a phone, show the content on the phone width and set the scale for at 1:1. So you guys might have seen a website, you might have looked at a website on your phone in the past where it's really small and the website hasn't been designed to show content specifically for screens. And that's a website that doesn't include a viewport meta tag. Anyway, I'll finish off here. Over the last 20 minutes or so, we have looked at using a text editor to create or to write a HTML structure from scratch, to save a HTML page in an appropriate directory structure, to link up a style sheet, and also to add some different types of metadata to the head of our HTML metadata, including style sheet links, descriptions, keywords, authors, and importantly for the future, the viewport meta tag.